are you all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Peyton, and today I'm going to do a little book haul because I bought a lot of books and I want to talk about them because I'm really excited about them. Sorry, I wasn't going to buy more books, but you know, I tripped and fell at the bookstore, and here we are. So the majority of what I have, fantasy and Japanese translated fiction, because I went to Japan and I loved it so much. I realized I hadn't read enough of Japanese translated fiction because there's so much and I know I haven't read a lot of it. So that's the majority of this haul is fantasy, Japanese translated fiction, and there's a couple of romance because I like reading romance this year. I don't know what to tell you, but we can start with the biggest category, which will be Japanese translated fiction. Oh my god, I'm gonna drop like all of these. Okay, alright, hold on. Okay, I almost dropped that entire pile of books. I don't know how many there are. There's a lot, so we can get started. The first one I want to talk about, and I had to order the cover I wanted because I don't like the US cover. I wanted a nicer cover, and I'm so glad I did it because it's like a work of art. I love this book, and that is Butter by Asako Yusuki. Butter is translated by Polly Barton. Isn't it so pretty? And like the blood's like a little shiny. All this. This is so great. And then this little thing right here says, there are two things I simply cannot tolerate: feminists and margarine. From what I understand, this is based on a true story, or at least some parts of it are. I haven't looked into what that story is yet. This follows a gourmet cook, Minako Kaji, who has been convicted of serial murders of lonely businessmen, who she seduced with her cooking, might I add. I'm just saying, like, it's not a bad way to go about it, I guess. And she has been refusing to speak to any journalists until there is a journalist named Rika Machida who writes a letter asking for the recipe of her beef stew. This is very interesting from Minako, who literally just wants to talk about food. They go back and forth with recipes and kind of develop a rapport. I'm assuming she'll start to open up to Rika, so this is a little bit of a chonker. I was a little surprised, but that's Butter. And then an author who I absolutely love. I've read 2 of her books. I just have been dying to read more, and that is Mieko Kawakami. And this is her little novella called Miss Ice Sandwich. This is translated by Louise Hiyokawa. I loved Breast and Eggs, and I loved Heaven. Heaven made me cry. So I've been wanting to read more of her work. So the first one I got was her little novella. It's about a young boy who gets obsessed with this woman who works at the local grocery, who her job is to make sandwiches. And she's like a little different, not like everyone else, and she really stands out to the main character. And he's dealing with a lot of different intrusions in his life, like his grandmother, his mother. His grandmother's ill, his mom is kind of a little unmoored by that, and then he has this relationship with another girl in his class named Teddy, who he isn't sure how they were kids, and then they've grown up to like early adolescence, and there might be more there. He's not sure really how to deal with it, so I think it's like more of a little sweet slice of life coming of age, I'm guessing, but I'm excited because it's so cute. That's that one, but I also did pick up All the Lovers in the Night. I love this cover too. And this is translated by Sam Bett and David Boyd. And this is about a woman who is in her 30s. Fuyuko Airi is a freelance proofreader in her 30s, living alone and unable to form meaningful relationships. She has little contact with anyone other than her colleagues, but a chance encounter with a man named Mitsusuka awakens something new in her. As Fuyuko starts to see the world in a different light, painful memories from her past begin to resurface. Fuyuko needs to be loved and to be heard and to be seen, but living in a small world of her own making, will she find the strength to bring down the walls that surround her? I love it because as also a woman in her 30s, I've found it really hard I've moved a lot. I found it really hard to make friends and kind of go outside of my own little bubble. And COVID definitely exasperated that. I was by myself in a new city. I didn't know anyone. My family was far away, and I was just in my own little bubble with my pets, and it kind of just became my life at some point until like over 2 years ago when I started dating and started really reaching out to more friends and outside of work friends, that I kind of grew out of that. I am interested in this perspective because it's one I've somewhat lived. I love her writing so much. She's such a beautiful writer. There's such powerful writing about simple things, if that makes sense. This has been been on my TBR for I don't know how long, and I finally just was like, I'm gonna buy it. Scattered All Over the Earth is by Yoko Tawanda, and this is translated by Margaret Mitsutani. This is kind of a sci-fi dystopian little book, little novel. I just was so interested in this premise, and I don't know why it's taking me so long. Japan has vanished into the sea, remembered only as the land of sushi, and Haruko thinks she might be the last Japanese person left alive. Then she hears word of Susano, a mysterious man who may be her last chance to once again hear the sounds of her native tongue. Together with a band of newfound friends, she sets out in pursuit of what's left of her homeland. Honestly, it's so pretty. I'm very, very excited to read this. I'm going to put this on my summer TBR for sure. Next, I have a book that I've actually seen everywhere recently, and that is What You Are Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Oyayama, translated by Allison Watts. Oh, there's a little cat on the cover and books, and I'm done. That's all I needed to know and see. But this is about a library where the librarian will suggest what she thinks the reader needs in order to get past something in their lives. Find the answer to something in their life, and she suggests them books. I think each chapter, each little section of the book is a different person she is helping and part of their story in the book that she has recommended to them. I think it's how this book is structured, but I'm very excited about this. I love that premise so much. That like warms my cold ass heart, and I love books, talking about books and people who love books. The Tattoo Murders by Akimitsu Takagi, translated by Deborah Bowen. This is a classic, says right here on the sticker. It's a classic Japanese locked room mystery, which I haven't read a ton of locked room mysteries, and I love that genre a lot. Like I love that. I love like the detective aspect. I love detective novels, so I don't know why I don't read enough of them. Anyway, I picked this one up, and this is set in Tokyo in 1947. This is the first post-war meeting of the Edo Tattoo Society. Kinyu Nomura reveals her full-body snake tattoo to rapturous applause. Days later, she is gone. A dismembered corpse is discovered in her locked bathroom of her home, but her much-admired body art is nowhere to be found. Kinyu's horrified lover joins forces with the boy detective Kayosuke Kamizu to try and get to the bottom of the macabre crime, but similar deaths soon follow. Is someone being driven to murder by their lust for tattooed skin, and can they be stopped? Set in the seedy Tokyo of bomb sites, dive bars, and Yakuza gangs, The Tattoo Murder is one of Japan's most ingenious and legendary whodunits. This one's a little long too, but I feel like I'll get sucked into it and just not want to put it down, or at least I hope so. So that's The Tattoo Murder. I have a plan to do. There is a booktuber I really, really love. I love her content. I love her videos. I love her personality. Her name's Allison Pages. I'll link her channel down below. She's really the reason I wanted to start doing booktube after such a long hiatus of talking about books on social media. And she really inspired me to get back into it, and she's created such a cozy little corner of the internet, and I love her videos so much. And she's had to take medical leave from doing what she loves, unfortunately, because she has a medical condition that I won't speak too much about on here because it's for her to tell and not me. But she's been having to take a medical leave from making videos, and I wanted to do a video of reading her favorite books, and one of those books was Lonely Castle in the Mirror. This is by Mizuki Shujimura, and this is translated by Philip Gabriel. This is like a little fantasy, and look, the cover's so great. It's a portal fantasy, which I honestly haven't read a ton of, so I'm intrigued in that aspect. They're in a neighborhood in Tokyo. 7 young people wake up to find their bedroom mirror shining. Find their bathroom mirrors shining. Placing their palms on the surface, they are pulled through into a wondrous castle where they encounter not only each other, but also their taskmaster, a bossy young girl in a mask named the Wolf Queen. They don't know it yet, but they all have one thing in common. Eager to uncover the secrets of the castle while keeping their own, their time here will be nothing without glitches. For a start each day, they must leave by 5 o'clock or face a terrifying penalty. They must all hunt for a key that will grant one wish. They must tell no one about their experience. As they struggle to abide by the rules of the game and each other's emotional boundaries, a moving story unfolds of 7 characters trapped in a cycle of misunderstanding and loneliness, who are ultimately set free by the power of friendship, empathy, and sacrifice. Okay, I have 2 more. I think this one was the main reason for this. This is what started this haul, this book, because like I said, I love books about books and book lovers and bookstores. Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagasawa. This is translated by Eric Osawa. This is about a young woman, I think she's in her mid-20s, really lost. Her boyfriend decided to marry someone else, and leave her with nothing. She loses her job, her friends go away, and all of her acquaintances. She truly is lonely. She's in these dark depths of despair and depression. And then she receives a call from her uncle. He's very unusual. He's lived a very unconventional life. His wife had left him 5 years earlier, so he's been on his own, and he runs a second-hand bookstore in Jimbacho, which is Tokyo's favorite book district. And she accepts his offer of renting a tiny room above the bookstore, and she starts to help out. It's supposed to be all temporary, but I think it'll become more than that. I just love the idea of the setting, being the secondhand bookstore, and like being around books and trying to pick up the pieces of your life along with someone who you don't really know that well, but who's family and will possibly help you out of your hole that you're in. And lastly, Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami. I've seen this cover everywhere for years, and I want to get it. And this is about Tsukiko, who is 38. She works in an office and lives alone. One night she happens to meet one of her former high school teachers, who she only refers to as sensei, at a local bar. He is 30 years her senior, retired, and presumably a widower. The relationship develops from a perfunctory acknowledgement of each other to a hesitant intimacy, which tilts awkwardly and poignantly into love. Strange Weather in Tokyo is a moving, funny, and immersive tale of modern Japan and old-fashioned romance. Ooh. So that is all my translated Japanese fiction. It was a lot, and I'm so damn excited to grow more of my love of Japan and its culture, and told from a bunch of different perspectives, a bunch of different settings, grow my love of translated fiction, and discover some great new authors. Next, I'm just going to do romance very quickly because it's 2 books, and one I'm not really going to talk about that much because it is kind of a spoiler for the first book. But it is the second book in the Bright Falls trilogy, the first one being Delilah Green Doesn't Care, which I loved. I read it earlier this year, and honestly, I can't stop thinking about it. So book 2 follows her sister, and part of it has to do with home renovation show, and her sister is trying to restore this old hotel, and other stuff happens, but I'm not going to say the other stuff because it's very much a spoiler for the first book. But that is one. And the next one, I did honestly buy it for the cover, and I plan to read this one closer to fall, but I was in a new bookstore in Minneapolis called Tropes and Trifles that sells primarily romance, so I popped my head in there the other day, and this one I just had to pick it up in his happy medium. Look at it! This is by Sarah Adler, who wrote Mrs. Nash's Ashes, which I have not read, but I've heard amazing things about, and this is her newer release. And just look at it! The little blurb on the back above the synopsis, I'm sold. A clever con artist must convince a skeptical, sexy farmer of his property's resident real-life ghost if she's to save them from a fate worse than death. Like, sold. That's it. You don't need to tell me anything else. This is about a fake spiritual medium named Gretchen Acorn. I'm just like, I mean, the little blurb got, like, that was enough, but I just keep reading. I was like, I just can't wait to read this. She's happy to help when her best friend, aka her wealthiest client, hires her to investigate the unexplained phenomenon preventing the sale of her partner's struggling goat farm. Gretchen may be a fraud, but she'd like to think she'd be a beneficial one. So if cleansing the property will help the nice old man finally retire and put some much needed cash in her pockets at the same time, who's she to say no? Of course, it turns out that said partner isn't the kindly AARP member Gretchen imagined. Charlie Waybill is a young, hot as hell, and extremely unconvinced that Gretchen can communicate with the dead, which, fair, except to her surprise, Gretchen finds herself face to face with Everett, the very real, very chatty ghost that's been wreaking havoc during every open house, and he wants her to help ensure Charlie avoids the same family curse that's had Everett haunting Gilded Creek since the 1920s. So, I love this. Seems like a forced proximity romance, and also like there's a mystery aspect, a ghost story, and there's a little goat. I think, honestly, after Part of Your World, there should just be a goat somewhere in a romance story. It will be an auto buy for me. And I don't think you disagree. So those are the 2 romance books I got. And next I have some fantasy, and I'm growing. My physical fantasy TBR is so big right now, like I honestly don't have an excuse to buy more. I need to just read what I have, but here we are. I picked up some more. Yeah, one of them is for sure on my summer TBR, but I'll get to that in a second. The first book I wanted to talk about, which I'm really excited about, because I read the first few pages when I was at the bookstore, and yeah, I'm sold. It is 5 Broken Blades by May Cortland. Look at this cover. And I got Sprayed Edge, which is So cool. And on the back, let the best liar win. Only one can take the crown. Oh, like on the end pages? Look at this. You guys even see? Yeah, I had to pick it up. It's the season for treason. The king of Yusan must die. The 5 most dangerous liars in the land have been mysteriously summoned to work together for a single objective: to kill the god King Jun. He's had it coming. Under his merciless, immortal hand, the nobles flourish while the poor and innocent are imprisoned, ruined, or sold. And now each of the 5 blades will come for him. Each has tasted bitterness. From the hired hitman seeking atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, or even the prince banished for his cruel crimes. None can resist the sweet, icy lure of vengeance. They can agree on murder, they can agree on treachery, but for the 5 killers, each versed in deception, lies, and betrayal, it's not enough to forge an alliance. To survive, they'll have to find a way to trust each other, but only one can take the crown. Let the best liar win. Each chapter is told from a different perspective, so yeah, this just sounds like a really fun adventure, really cool fantasy, maybe some cool world building. Yeah, I like that they're not supposed to be heroes, they're all supposed to be villains. Like, I love that. So that's 5 Broken Blades. And honestly, this next one I can only blame, which I even blame because she's not in charge of my bank account. But Carrie Can Reads talked so highly about this next book, I had to buy it. Win Among Crows by Veronica Roth. This cover drew me in too. Now, I have not read Veronica Roth. I haven't read a single book by her. I know she is very, very famous for the Divergent series, which I honestly know nothing about. So if I like this one, maybe I'll check that out. But this is a pretty short book, and I know this deals with a curse and Baba Yaga. There's weapons that can literally be pulled out of the spine and used as a bow or a blade. And I'm just like, say no more, Carrie. This is in my cart already. I'm getting it. It's supposed to be like somewhat of a mystery and a noir. So, hell yeah. So that's this one. I don't want to say too much about it because it is so short. A little bit over 160 pages. So that is Win Among Crows. This was on every fantasy best books ever, every fantasy lovers list. This will be in their top 10 for sure. And I just need to know what all the fuss is about. And I feel so behind with fantasy that I just want to read everything. That book is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. Yeah, I got it. It's a big one, but I got it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put this on my summer TBR too. I think my summer TBR is literally just going to be big books. I think that's all it's going to be. I know this has to do with a son and mother and this long line of legacy of fighters in this world. And the son is uncovering more and the mother is asking a lot of questions and they may have to fight next to each other. I love that one of the main characters is a mother and more experienced. There's a lot of these characters. A lot of fantasy, but not all, but there's a lot of fantasy books where they're like 18 and now they're like entrusted with all this great power and success, and like obviously one of the characters is 14, but I love that there's older perspective too in the mix. So that's The Sword of Kaigen. And lastly, I was waiting for this to come out in paperback because I read the first book in paperback and it's just, they're so long and they're such heavy tomes. I just know, I love big floppy paperbacks. I don't know. And this one's no exception, and that is A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. If you've been watching my channel, especially since the beginning of the year, you'll know that Priory of the Orange Tree is a high contender for my favorite book of the year. And I know that there's a very big discord between those who love Priory and think Samantha Shannon did something amazing, and those who hate it and think it's boring, think it's overrated, think it's too long. I'm on the right side of history, and I'm gonna stay there because I think you all are wrong. I don't care actually. A prequel, but it's also a standalone story set in the roots of chaos, which who knows when there's going to be another book in that series, but this is the prequel. I think it came out a year, 2 years ago, and it just came out in paperback. And I think this is set 150, 200 years before the events of Priory, and so it's a whole new set of characters, more feminist, queer romance, I'm assuming. I love what Samantha Shannon did with the world in Priory. I love the story, I love the characters. You're with them for so long, so when the book's over, you like truly mourn them and miss them. Wanting to either reread Priory or read the next book, and I'm gonna read the next book, but I'll probably still reread Priory. But this one's another long one too, so this will be on my summer TBR. Oh, God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I want to read her other series, The Bone Season. I want to read that too so badly, but I'm going to finish this before I go into that. But that is that. That is my little book haul. Have you read any of the books that I talked about? What were your thoughts? Is there any you think that I would like that I may have been missing from translated Japanese fiction, romance, fantasy, anything that you're really loving that you think I would love to know down below. And if you can't think of anything else, put a stack of books, the stack of books emoji, because that's what I got. I got a stack of books. As always, thank you for clicking, thank you for watching, and I'll have a new video for you soon. Bye! Bye!